What's going on, guys? Greg here, Gondel Outdoors, and earlier today we showed you a quick video on making a basic dubbing noodle, whether you're using a dubbing tool or just using dubbing onto the thread. So now I wanted to do a fly with a mainly dubbing body, but this fly is a hopper fly, and this hopper, unlike some of the hoppers that are out there that are meant to be fished as a hopper, I tie this mainly to suspend small nymphs under the water in a dry dropper rig. So I'm using a size 8 hook. I've got brown thread on as my base. Now a lot of guys that tie hoppers will use a white thread, and depending on the foam color you pick, they will color that white thread, whether it's yellow or brown or whatever color foam they're using. I don't go that far into detail because I'm not looking for them to hit this fly. This is mainly to suspend my nymph rig underneath it. So I use a little bit bigger hook, I use a little bit more foam, and kind of go from there. So basically what I'm going to use for the body is a Hareline ice olive brown dubbing. What's nice about this is it's like an attractor color, so it's got green, brown, copper, purple, blue, all that kind of mixed together. It's pre-mixed from Hareline, so you don't have to worry about mixing dubbings together. Again, I'm going to use my standard technique to make my dubbing noodle, and you want to roll this pretty tight. You don't have to go crazy, but tighter works a little bit better for the way we're going to use this. So I'll get it as tight as I can get it. And you may have to add as you're going. So I'm going to start right above the bend of the hook, and then you're going to be close touching wraps all the way back up to the eyelet with the dubbing. And again, if you're as you're going, you need to add more, or you have to readjust if, like it is right now, got a little loose from some of the wraps, so just tighten it back up and continue going forward towards the eyelet. And this one, just because of the size of the hook, I'll probably have to add dubbing to it, but won't have to add a whole lot, just enough so that I can get to the front end of the fly. And again, this doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to create the body, and you'll see why in a second. So now if you start getting it to where you have a bunch of dubbing jumping out in front, try to pull some of that back with your fingers and get it back behind the eyelet. Make a couple of wraps to keep it tight away from the eyelet so you can still get tippet through it. Now I'm going to take 2mm foam. Obviously I'm using brown thread, so I'm going to use a brown, I believe they call this root beer. And you want it to be about as wide as the gap of the hook. Length completely up to you. And what I do is I snip the corners off the foam like so. And they don't have to be perfect either, just to give you a base. And what I do is I try to make the tail not super long, but long enough. I'm going to wrap this. Now the key here is to make sure that you hold tight onto the foam so it stays on top of the hook shank and doesn't want to roll over and spin. And what you're doing is you're leaving that so you can fold this back. What you're going to do from there is go back to the back of the fly, and you're going to do basically the same thing back here. You're going to pinch that tight, a couple good wraps so that it stands up. Then you're going to come back, basically make X's across what you already had there, and that pinches the foam so it stays on the hook shank. The last piece of material you'll need, I'm using bleached elk hair. Now, a lot of guys will tell you you need to use a hair stacker for this. The way I do this, I do not need a hair stacker because the way I cut it, I'm pinching what I want, and then I'm snipping. And as long as you get it all, it'll be already nice, evenly stacked for you. You're gonna lay this basically right where that bend is, but before I tie that in, I'm gonna make a loop of thread around the elk hair so it kind of holds it together for me. Now you can start pulling on it. And again, this does not need to be super pretty. This is basically there just to hold whatever nymph you're going to fish underneath this, suspended in the water column. This is just a bigger, heavy-duty dry fly. So I'm not looking for prettiness. I'm not putting legs on it. If a fish decides to hit it, they can. But this is mainly serving as almost like an indicator and something to hold that fly up in the water column that you're fishing underneath it. So you're gonna whip finish it. That worked out good because my thread was ready to break. Now I'm gonna take some of this elk hair. I'm not gonna leave it at full length, but I'm gonna leave it at some length, like so. Now I kept that one pretty tight, which is good. And if you have to, you can trim your tail end down. I'll make another little triangle out of it here, like so. And there you have it. There's a nice hopper just to simply hold a suspended fly. So I use a bigger hook so it gives me room to tie my tippet onto the back of the hook, drop my fly below it, and this is going to ride up on the water. And again, if they decide they want to hit it, they can. If not, again, it's an indicator as it's floating. So if you have a strike, you're going to feel it, see it. But it's a super easy pattern that you don't have to get pretty with. And you can tie it however you would like. I use brown. Once in a while I'll use yellow. So that's more high vis. But other than that, a nice easy pattern that if you want to run dry dropper. And again, you're not looking for the strike on the hopper. Doesn't need to be pretty. Just needs to work as you're making it what it's used for, basically. So I hope you enjoyed that one. Stay tuned for more. Appreciate you checking out the channel.